Hello? Today we're going to explore something you already do all the time, telling stories about things that have happened. We'll be learning about the recount text, including its purpose, structure, and language features. To start, have you ever told a friend about a great weekend or a funny moment in class? When you share a true story about the past, you are creating a recount text.
Oh yeah, I tell stories like that all the time. Like about that time my dog chased a squirrel up a tree. So a recount text is basically just telling a true story about something that already happened?
That's exactly right. A recount text is a way to share a true story about an event that is already finished. The main point, or social function, of a recount is either to inform someone or to entertain them by telling what happened. Can you think of a situation where a recount text would be important for informing someone?
Maybe if a teacher missed class and I had to tell them what happened while they were gone. Like, what we did for the test.
That's a perfect example. A report of a school assembly or a police report are both recounts meant to inform people. Now, a good recount has a simple structure with three main parts. The first part is called the orientation. What details do you think you need to tell your friend before you start the main story?
I guess I'd need to tell them who was there, and maybe where it happened, and when it happened, like last Saturday.
Exactly. The orientation is like setting the stage. It tells the reader the who, what, where, and when of the story. This background information is necessary so the reader knows what's going on before the main action starts. After the orientation, what do you think is the second biggest part of the recount?
That would be the actual story, right? Like all the things that happened in order?
You got it. The second part is the series of events, and it is the core of the recount. This is where the action unfolds, and you list everything in the order it occurred. To keep the events clear and in order, writers use words that show sequence, like first or next. These are called time connectives. Why do you think using time connectives is so crucial here?
Well, if I just listed things, it might be confusing what happened first. Time connectives help the listener follow the order so the story makes sense.
That's precisely why they're important. Time connectives like first, later, and finally link the events together smoothly so the reader can clearly understand the timeline of your story. So we have the orientation and the series of events. The third and final part is called the reorientation. What does reorientation sound like it might do for the story?
Maybe it brings the story to a close? Like a summary of how things ended or how I felt about it?
That's a fantastic description. The reorientation is the wrapping up part, which is optional, but it gives the story a sense of completeness. It often includes a final summary, or perhaps your personal comment or feeling about the entire experience. Now, we've covered the three structural parts. Since a recount is about things that already happened, what kind of verbs must we always use?
We have to use past tense verbs, right? Because it's already finished.
That's the most important language feature of a recount. We use past tense verbs like walked, saw, and ate because the actions are done. Using past tense immediately signals to the reader that you are telling a story about the past. We also discussed one other key language feature used heavily in the series of events section. Can you remind me what that was?
The time connectives, like first, then, and after that, to keep the events in order.
Excellent. Time connectives, along with past tense verbs, are the two key language features that make a recount clear and easy to follow. We have now covered all the main parts of recount text: its purpose, its three-part structure, orientation, series of events, reorientation, and the two key language features. Before we conclude, can you summarize the main function of the orientation?
The orientation is the beginning part. Its main job is to set the scene for the reader by telling them the who, what, where, and when of the story before the main action starts. It's like giving the background information.
That is a perfect summary. The orientation sets the stage by providing all the necessary background. Understanding this three-part structure, the orientation, the series of events, and the reorientation, along with using past tense verbs, helps you write clear and accurate accounts of your experiences.
Okay, I think I get it. So if I were writing about a school trip, I'd start with when and where we went, then list what we did in order, and maybe finish with saying it was a really fun day. I had a question about the series of events part. Can I just skip one of the events if it wasn't very exciting, or does a recount have to include literally everything that happened?
That is a great question, and you are right on track with your trip example. While you should keep the events in chronological order, you do not have to include every single detail. You should focus on the important steps or highlights that make the story flow logically and meet the purpose of informing or entertaining the reader.
So if the purpose is to entertain, I can just include the really funny stuff and skip the boring wait times? I don't need to write, "Then we waited 10 minutes for the bus to come."
Exactly. If the purpose is to entertain, you should absolutely focus on the highlights and the funny parts. You don't need to include filler like waiting for the bus. You just want to use those time connectives to jump from one significant event to the next.
That makes sense. It's about making the story good, not just a list of every minute. So if I'm writing a recount about a soccer game, I would use the past tense to describe the goals and the action, and time connectives like, first we kicked off, and then the striker scored. Is that right?
That is absolutely right. You've correctly identified the need for past tense verbs like kicked and scored, and the role of time connectives in sequencing the action. We have covered everything about understanding and writing a clear recount text. Thanks for your excellent focus today.